Governing Board. I'm calling the meeting to order Monday, May 15th, 2023, at, according to that clock, 6 p.m. I don't have to call roll. Mr. Slattery's on vacation. It appears everyone else is here. And first item we have is approval of minutes. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 17th, 2023.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on any matter not on our agenda? Hearing none, moving on. We have two discussion items. First one, capital improvements update. And if we could have, Mr. White, is that you?
It is.
Fire away.
Members of the CRA, this thing working? Members of the CRA board, good evening. I've got a very, very fast presentation for you to go over these projects for the CRA. Do we have the presentation or the slides? Okay. It'll be easier if we can show them. I can tell you real quickly, originally there were 8 projects on the list that Public Works was managing. There's 2 of them that are no longer on this list. One was a corridor study for State Road 434 that is now being funded through MetroPlan, so it's kind of out of our hands. And the other one was a hydrant valve study for the Adeline B. Tinsley area, Stevens Avenue through that area, and our own in-house reanalysis determined we didn't need to do it. So those funds will go back in CRA, won't be spent for that project. However, the 6 that we did end up working on are, as you see there, State Road 434 to Geneva Drive Connector Road, the Franklin Street Extension, Solari Park Pedestrian Bridge, lift station number 7 relocation, the Wood Street Sidewalk, and the water valve replacement project. Just to go over them briefly, starting with Connector Road, we are currently at 90% design. 90% design. The Connector Road includes three of these projects are all intermingled together. We've got the Connector Road, the Solari Park Pedestrian Bridge, and Lift Station 7 relocation. The road itself is at 90%. The pedestrian bridge is at 90%, which you'll see in a minute, and Lift Station 7 relocation is 60%. So we're slowly progressing on that towards a cohesive 100% project, and at that point we'll bid, which will be hopefully, what do you think, fall? Okay, in the fall.
So you're going to bid all 3 at the same time?
Yes, sir.
That's one
They're all
project?
together, they have to go together.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be one contractor. That's yeah. And that's why you've seen in the past these high amount budgets, including Lift Station 7. It's going to be a large project. Just to continue on, you'll see this is basically the roadway design. Starting from State Road 434, going over to Geneva Drive, which is on the next slide. As you can see, I've called out the pedestrian bridge and where Lift Station 7 is being relocated, which was on the previous slide. You can go back one second, Elion, sorry. So actually go back one more. Just to point out, as you can see, upper right-hand corner, that is going to be where Lift Station 7 is being relocated to. Its current location is almost directly to the south of that on the other side of the right-of-way. It's basically where it's at right now. And when we get to Lift Station 7 on the plan set, you'll actually see where it is now as to where it's going. But I just wanted to show you, kind of give you a representation of where it's at, where it's going to go. So the next slide now. And that's where just literally right around the corner is where the pedestrian bridge is going from Solari Park. So if you basically, it's about a 30, 40-foot boardwalk connecting to our existing boardwalk, and that will take you from a proposed sidewalk on the Connector Road on the north side over to Solari Park. Okay, now, Elion, you can move on. Next project is Franklin Street Extension. That one is currently at 60% design. The only plan I had to show you, though, is the 30%. I apologize, but that's the only plan set I had at the time that was available. And as you can see, it's running basically from Lake Jessup to east-west over to State Road 434. The intersection with State Road 434 will have a signalized intersection. This road is approximately 1,300 feet long, and it will cross the cross Seminole Trail.
Are there any big changes from 30 to, what are we at, 60% from this?
No.
Or it's just
No, it's
the details?
It's not a very pretty project. It's just
Right,
a
it's
simple.
road,
I mean, there's
yeah.
nothing. Connector Road project is cool.
Yeah.
It's got the sewer. It's got the landscaping. It's got the lighting. It's got the reverse angle parking. It's got the lift station and all, it's got the neat stuff. This is just
This
a
is
simple,
straightforward, yeah.
connect one dot to the other, and we go. Here we go with the Solari Park pedestrian bridge. That's just a cover sheet. Next slide, please. And that's basically showing you in a little more detail what we're going to do. It's like I said, 30 or 40 feet across from the proposed sidewalk over to the existing boardwalk. There's not much to it. If you think of the existing boardwalk and think of one teeing off and coming over to the roadway, that's literally what it's going to be. Lift Station 7, which is also part, as I mentioned, of the Connector Road, next project. As you can see here, I've shown the existing Lift Station 7 relocation on the south side, and I've got the relocated lift station on the north side. That's basically how close they are together. And then I've got the pedestrian bridge, so you can see it all kind of cohesively where they all kind of fit together in the project. Wood Street sidewalk basically runs from State Road 434 down to Windy Pine Way. There's 3 slides here that show the project. Again, this one's pretty simple. It's a sidewalk on the north side, except down on the east end, we do transition to the south side of the road, where we do have a bit of a design challenge with an existing driveway or two, but I'm sure we'll overcome it.
So you said this one was done in design and it's in procurement, so.
We're getting pricing right now. We
Okay.
designed it in-house. There's a few things we were able to do in-house. And we're going to have one of our sidewalk contractors, concrete contractors, actually build it for us.
How
we're
long do you
now-
think before they start?
Yeah,
That's pretty.
30, 60 days?
yeah. I always learn to promise a longer date, just in case.
Very nice.
One thing I would like to mention, though, while we're talking about Wood Street sidewalks, is to get your consensus on, because we're not doing the hydrant valve location, I believe we originally budgeted, I think it was $100,000 for the Wood Street sidewalks, which we've eaten into some of that with survey. I'd like to get consensus to use some of that hydrant valve project money towards the sidewalks, if that's okay, because I think it's going to cost a little more than what we originally thought on the concrete prices.
How much more are you thinking?
I think that should cover it. I think if we use the
Like
extra
100K?
100,000, it'll
Like all
take
of it?
care of it, yeah. I'm not looking to get any additional monies, just
Okay.
what we already have budgeted. Just want to reallocate.
I'm okay with it.
Anyone else got an issue with that? It looks like, bring it back for approval.
Okay, thank you. And our final project is the valve replacement project, and this is just a schematic. We've got 6 locations we've identified so far of valves that either need to be replaced or added in that area based on operational issues we've had in the past, and these are the basic locations. We're currently refining the details on this plan sheet, which we will give to a contractor, and then move to procurement. That's kind of where we're at.
So the valve replacement, are they getting replaced because of the expansion of the roads that are the building in the area?
Actually, because they were installed in the late 60s or 1970s, and they're old and they failed and they don't close.
That's a
Or we've
problem.
determined that, when we had to shut an area down because we had to do some work, that we determined that, hey, we should put a valve here because we had way too many people, we had to turn their water off, because we had to go down the street to isolate. So if we add a valve, it'll make things better in the future.
Okay, so it's
it's that
just
kind
these-
of, it's operational
These 6 that we feel that
for this year.
for this year,
It's
okay.
Yeah, you'll see another line item next year for the additional, same kind of thing. There's enough, I think, infrastructure in the CRA area that we could probably do this for a couple, 3 years and to hit them all.
Are they all on the same line? Is it,
Those you see on 434, yes, sir.
and then the 2 off are on a different
Yep.
line? Okay.
Yep.
That
That's
it?
kind of all I have, if you've got any
Any
questions.
questions for Mr. Wyatt? I think we'll hear from the budget folks next, kind of following up on his presentation.
So these water valves, are there going to be extended outages to replace them?
It shouldn't be, no, sir.
Okay, you're going to
Should
sequence
be
it?
like a day at a time.
You'll be able to isolate them?
Hopefully, yes. But there will be those who are affected during a day. I'm sure it'll happen.
Okay.
How many
No,
of them are new? Because you said you're
Um,
adding some, so we don't.
None of them,
These-
I believe there's one that's adding a new valve.
Okay, and that's to
I
cut
believe
off
it's the one at
less
Clark and
people.
434.
Got it, okay.
Or, I'm sorry, that's Hillcrest, but it's the one up at Clark. that I believe has to be relocated. I was looking at, in my head, I'm looking at Hillcrest thinking that's Clark, but
So just one of them
it's
to
the
do
one at
that.
Clark, yeah.
Any other questions for Mr. Wyatt? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Time for our preliminary budget discussion.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, CRA board members. Kelly Jones apologizes for not being able to be here tonight to present this to you, but her daughter attends St. Luke's, and she finished state champion in the high jump this past weekend, and so she attends the sixth grade. It's the middle school. She won the middle school state championship, and she's a sixth grader. So great thoughts for her going forward, and tonight's there's a banquet basically honoring her. If you can, please go to the CRA proposed budget handout. While they're looking for that, I need to point out in the agenda memo that there were 3 Scribner's errors that I need to bring to your attention. The first one is at the bottom of the very first page. It lists under the 23-24 proposed expenditures, it lists the Franklin Street extension, and that should be Geneva Drive to 434 Connector Road. At the top of page 2, it's the same Scrivener's error. It says Franklin Street extension, and it should say Geneva Drive to 434 Connector Road. And the same under the budget impact section, the very last sentence says Franklin Street extension, and it should say Geneva Drive to 434 Connector Road. So,
It makes a lot more sense to me now.
yeah, it's the, when we sat down to look at it this afternoon, it's one of those things that we should have caught at the beginning, but you know, when you have a fresh perspective on things, it just leaped off the pages at us. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. But at any rate, the way that this budget was put together, and again, this is preliminary, and taking a look at the TIF revenue, basically we took the property values from the previous fiscal year, we rolled them forward, adding 6% to them, just like we did for the city budget. So we don't know, what the actual values are going to be until perhaps a couple more weeks when we get the real numbers in from Seminole County. And that number can go up a little bit. It can also go down as well. So, but nonetheless, for planning purposes, we think 1.4 million is pretty close. Looking at the proposed 23-24 expenditures, the CRA admin costs, again, this is pretty much boilerplate. It's coming in about $45,000. Public Arts programming is in there right now for 25. The expenses for the financial department support services is 10,000. CRA audit is 5,000, and the department, the CRA filing with the DEO is $175. And again, what we just talked about a minute ago, we've programmed in the Geneva Drive to 434 Connector Road at $725,000. And the relocation of lift station number 7 at $585,000 for now. So that rounds out the total expenditures, subject to your approval and discussion, and that's where we are currently at. Any questions?
So basically, we've got to really wait for those designs to be finished and those bids to come in to know where we really are on these numbers, right?
I would say so, yes.
Okay. But based on what we're seeing, it looks like any work on Franklin Street's going to be kicked to the following fiscal year in all likelihood.
I can't answer that
Mr.
question.
Wyatt, would you say that's correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So would you say it's not quite the same scale as a connector road with not as much stuff in it, but 6 figures, 7 figures? Wild guess?
It's at least upper 6 figures.
Okay.
For Franklin Street, at least.
So it might absorb a good chunk of the following year's revenue?
I would anticipate that, yes.
Okay. Anyone else have any more questions for this projection? Okay, Jerry, anything to add, or
Just a
were we not
couple
done?
additional comments.
Okay.
If you can go to attachment 1, please. Some things that I talked to Ms. Jones about today that I just want to bring to your attention. We need your input on a couple things. Yes, thank you. So, as you can Did I just do that? We don't want you to see those numbers. Sorry about that. Anyway, some things that we want you to see, going forward is we want you to take a look at the out years on this schedule. If you take a look at, okay, I'm going to put this thing down now. If you take a look at the out years, what you'll see in fiscal year 24, 25, you'll see that, there's the Franklin Street extension listed out there. And then the out years, there's not that much. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we develop the appropriate inventory for things that we need to consider in the future year's budget process. So any items that you could come up with, that you can think about, that you think should be actually inventoried and added to this list, we would be very grateful for that information. So that's the only other additional point that we wanted to make tonight. If you can get us that information, just let us know. In addition to, if you have any revisions to what was presented to you tonight, please let us know as soon as possible. We're going into the year-end budget process. So when we get to the end of June, more than likely, we'll want to have the numbers pretty much finalized, definitely before we issue the budget book, which is the end of July. So we need to make sure that we have the right information for you and include it in the budget book as we present it to you at the end of July. So with that, that is really all I have, Mr. Axel, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone got any more questions? One for you, Mr. Cobb. I believe we're coming back in June, and perhaps you and your staff can come up with what the city would like to see done as you start looking maybe a little further east. See if there's any projects after Franklin Street. Anyone else have anything? Anyone from the public have anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, with that, I suppose, future meeting date, Monday, June 19th at 6, not 5:30. Then another one, July 17th at 6, August 21st at 6, if we need them. I presume that's budget time, and we will, right?
Most likely, yes.
Okay. All right, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.